the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us and being patient. Let's get started. I'm going to have a little bit of trouble trying to look at the chats. So, Mitch, if I can ask you if there's something that you need, please feel free to sort of just jump in and let us know. But then also, I'd love it. Like, go ahead and everyone sort of chat, amongst yourselves, and let's do this.
I'll look at the chat.
So presenters. Okay, cool. Presenters today. My name is Jennifer Willard, and my co-author here is Carrie Martinez. Just real quick about me, I've been in the industry for 22 years. I was really lucky. One of the things we talk about, like having education and how important it is. I was really lucky to go to a public high school that had a full functioning television studio, and then go to a public university, UMass, that had a full functioning television station. So having those opportunities at such a young age, I feel really, helped propel me. That my first job out of college was as a video conferencing admin for worldwide audio and web. So I've done that. I'm founder of Women in AV. I managed the California Courts AV Systems Development Integration Unit for about 8 years. And we did a lot of design and construction of courthouses, standards, and things like that. So go ahead, Gary, tell us about yourself.
Okay. I also started pretty young when I was still in high school. I was introduced to audio at around high school. And then I continued to learn at my church as I volunteered. And I've been officially an audio engineer for about 3 years now, and I'm completely new to this side of the industry, though. So it's exciting to see what's ahead for that side.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I just graduated also. Last
with
year.
honors, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the industry. I mean, again, like the talent that you have, and encouraging more young, especially females, to join us is really fantastic. So really glad to have you. Okay, let's do it. First of all, like I said, I want to thank AVNation TV for sponsoring this. We have the WAVEcast, but they really supportive of the entire industry. They started in 2011, around the same time as Women in AV. Tim Albright, who is the founder, and there's a group of people, but really Tim Albright, he's been one of our biggest supporters and our first supporters. So we're really grateful that we really wouldn't be where we're at today were it not for him. But go ahead and definitely check out their website, check out, get involved with AVNation TV. So the objectives that we have for today, we're just going to go through the study. We're going to look at the survey results. And as I said, I think one of the most important things that, Carrie and I are looking to is get to a place where we can just open up the conversation to all of us and sort of, hear your thoughts and what you think and what we should have as next steps. So this survey is the first industry survey on female representation. It's something that, I've wanted to do for a long time, but it really came together when Carrie reached out. She'll let us know about why this sort of happened in a second. But the first time that our industry has actually looked at, sort of who we are as females. And what was really important to me about that, one of the things that was really important about it for me is that we've always just guessed. So up until this point, everything that we had was gut feeling. It was based on, experience, word of mouth and things like that. And sort of just having an idea. 506 women participated worldwide, which is really just amazing. I thought it's a beautiful thing that so many people participated, because that's really what made the survey actually, successful, is, that it reached that many women. I know that there's more women, but the fact that we had 506 that came together, I think that's really cool for a first shot. It's January through May. And, we did 4 separate categories of demographics. So go ahead, Carrie, tell us why it happened. Tell us from your perspective.
So as some of you guys might know, I did a survey before this, and it was to figure out who the other girls in audio specifically were, just because I'm an audio engineer. I kind of dabbled in other sectors also in AV, but yeah, I did a research study just to figure out who else was out there, and this opportunity came, so I thought it'd be really cool to expand on that research and to really know who the females are, especially on this side of the industry, since there were not that many techs that took the survey, but we'll go into that later. But yeah, it was just to expand on my knowledge of the female workers and my colleagues out there. So
Awesome. That's great. And to elaborate on that, for me, not only just like everything that Carrie said about understanding who we are as women in AV and all those things, I really felt that, until we actually had a baseline of who we were as women, we might be shooting in the dark in terms of what it is that women want, what it is that women need. Some of these ideas about, how we can create effective career paths. All of those things, we can now actually look at these results and get some hard data about where it is. And, we'll talk about that because it's really fascinating to me what women, want as future opportunities. But we also want to get a feel of, how do women perceive their value and the industry representing them? I don't think any of us need to, we wouldn't be surprised to know that technology is, a male-dominated industry. There's been a lot of, sexism. There's been a lot of unfortunate, experiences that tend to turn women away. So we really wanted to, that said, on the other side, there's a lot of amazing experiences, especially I feel in the AV industry. So I wanted to make sure that when we talk about how women feel about it, that we're coming from a place of, data and not just, any one single person's anecdotal, information. So how did it happen? Go ahead, Carrie, let us know.
yes, so we started the survey in January, right after the one I did. We created the questions, we thought about the questions, and then as we gathered the participants' answers, we used Qualtrics to analyze everything. Qualtrics was a resource that I had, and I love it for the many functions it could do. And as it says on the slide, we depended a lot on social media, word of mouth, email distributions, and other groups to share and to let the people know that the survey's out. And luckily, it worked. And the data analysis and report, that was all done between March and April. And that was a really fun part because we managed to see everyone's responses and really put things together, and synapses started connecting. Is that the word? Synapses.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think, one of the things about the AV industry that's so, again, really cool and important. I was so excited to see everyone. It's one of those things where it's like, you could see, like, when it comes to women, give them a goal that they're passionate about and they're going to reach it. There was, we came down to the wire with, like, we needed 4 more people to reach it 500. And it was Friday the 13th. The deadline was at midnight. And it was just as a coronavirus was really starting to, expand. So the way that we ended up, like, making sure to reach our goal was going out on Twitter and, like, actually, like, just like trying to reach out to individual women. So there were a lot of people that helped us, and especially, like, there were a lot of, like, men that helped us, share it and make sure that, we reached as many people as we did. We had a lot of sister organizations that helped us as well. So it's really great that we have a community of groups, that are out there working and advocating on behalf of women in technology, women in tech, Sound Girls Org, Avixa Women. So, it was really fun to see, everybody come together to make this happen. four demographic categories that we had. It was human demographics, industry statistics, passions and preferences, and women's advancement. So the more that we put together our questions as we went along, it really sort of started to shake out as to, obviously the human demographics. Who are you? Where do you live? Race, ethnicity, your age, your seniority. The industry statistics were about, what you do in AV, what's your company's market sector, which was one of the interesting questions because we had one question that was kind of flawed. Passions and preferences was about, why are you in the industry? Do you like the technology? Do you like the creativity? Are you here to pay the bills? So that was a really great question that, I want to make sure to give Carrie credit for that question, because that was a good one in terms of understanding, why women actually join it. And it was kind of, surprising to see. Of course, most people say both, but it was really kind of surprising to see that some women here, are just to pay the bills. Women's advancement, that was one where we obviously asked, mentors, what do you want for future growth? And how do you feel that the industry values women's representation and diversity? So go ahead, Carrie, tell us about key findings.
Yeah, key findings, our industry, as in female, are not that diverse, but it's okay. 44% have no mentor, and 28% count men only as their advisors or mentors. 52% have families, and an additional 25% have pets only. So I think that's really interesting, just because all those women have dependents and they're still working and doing a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. On the best of days, to be a woman in technology is to, break boundaries just to be here. So yeah, that's really great. And it's, it's definitely the, 77% of women, do have at least one dependent. I think, Carrie, one of the things that we've talked about is that 28% of women who count men only as their advisors, that was actually the second highest category after 44% saying that they don't have a mentor. So it really goes to show, again, like in our industry, men play a critical role in the women that are here, helping them advance, helping them learn things. And I think, if that's something that I've, I'm sure all of us, but like I've heard, consistently over the last 22 years. Great. But yes, as Carrie also said, women in AV, we have a diversity problem, and it's also, not only about like being white or Caucasian, but where we live and reside. Majority of women, 92% of women live in the US and Europe. So that was an interesting statistic as well. 67% fell into it as their career start, which it's so fascinating to me. Like one of the things, the outcomes of the survey was I really wanted to make sure that it engaged further insights and discussions that, this is just a starting point for us. Because I say that in one of the reasons is that 67% of women fell into it. For me, like the first thing that I think is, well, what does that mean, fell into it? That's just in a study in itself. But it also tells us a lot about sort of where we are in terms of how our industry actually recruits women, whether or not we have a handle on how women, are having a career path. And, Maddie Vining, she's with the WAVE UK leadership as well. She, had an interesting observation. And so 67% of women fell into the industry, but, that's pretty much our industry. She said that, it'd be great to understand how many men fell into our industry as well. So, I think we all sort of know that, AV as an industry, you can go to school to be, a network engineer or, IT has a lot more traction sort of down into, the academia and those areas. So, but it was actually really interesting. Top 3 areas that women want future growth. We'll talk about this a little bit more later. Leadership, career advancement, and technical training. One of the things this is so exciting to me to see women, number one, want leadership. That is beyond awesome. And one of the other things that really came out of this survey that I felt that was so important is that I've always known this and I've always felt it, but our industry, the women that are here are incredibly successful. Almost 60% of women are at least a supervisor or higher. So those of us women that are here, the staff was obviously, the biggest other category, but the women that are here are really amazing. They are really like being promoted up. They're working, CDR itself just elected 3 new female board of directors. So it was really cool. And it's so cool to see, because it says so much about who women in our industry are, that leadership is something that they want the most about. Carrie, do you want to say anything to this side before we go on?
Yeah, I really like that technical training aspect of the growth opportunities, because I know that even as an audio engineer, I still want technical training. So it's very interesting to know that most of the people, again, we'll talk about it later, are in sales, and that was one of the top areas that they wanted growth in. So I would like to hear more about that.
Right, that's perfect. All right, so, we said, so we've got a lot of different slides, and, I can see that it's already 10:30, and I really want to give us an opportunity to talk. So we'll probably just kind of like go through these slides really fast. Reason we put them in here is just so that we could, have something to talk about and talk to them. I think one of the things that really stands out for me that I love about this and is very fascinating, 5 women participated from the Middle East. And if you read the report, you see that in one of the key recommendations that I talked about in terms of how do we diversify of our industry is there are a lot of cultural and social economic, there's a lot of different levels of women's equality rights that are happening around the world in different places. So just last year, it's the first time that women in the Middle East have the right to drive. They still are not allowed to leave the country without a male chaperone. But seeing that 5 women participated from the Middle East, truly just makes fills my heart, because it really tells me that, when women are given the opportunity, and when, they shouldn't be given, but, when women have the opportunity, they show up, they participate, they love technology, which is cool. Hispanic Latino is the second highest category of women. In minorities, one of the really interesting things that you'll see when you look in the report is when it comes to the location, we had 0 participants actually from Central America, Latin America, and South America. So what's really interesting about that is that, Hispanic women are participating in technology, but they're not participating from their country of origin. So, looking at why is that and sort of what's going on, there's a lot of turmoil going on in South America, just generally speaking and things like that. So where are women at, just in their own local, environment? Being able to understand that will help us, understand how we can get more women to participate. What would you like to say to that, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm glad. I noticed how you said something, how you mentioned that the Hispanic community wasn't from a Hispanic country rather than another country. With the Middle East, that they were all from the Middle East. They weren't from a Middle a Middle Eastern living in America or Canada or Europe or something. They were from the Middle East. So that was really cool. And I really like that.
Exciting. Perfect. 11% are college age or younger. I'm not sure that this is this is a big surprise to anybody, that, college, age and younger students aren't necessarily participating at first. What's really cool to me is to see that, pretty well equally age ranges of women otherwise are on average about 30%. So, otherwise than college, women are really engaging in our industry at any age. And I thought that's really cool. So what do you want to say to this, Carrie?
Yeah, I'm glad there are people my age. I want to connect with those people just to know where they're getting their resources from and their information, just so that I could probably be like, hey, you want to share information, and I would like to know where they started too. I would also like to ask everyone how they got started. I mean, of course we did ask that, like they fell into it, but like the story behind it, because it's really interesting, the fact that they fell into it, but how.
Right. So yeah, I love that. So while all the women are equally represented, generally speaking, besides college students, when we look at the next slide, one of the really fascinating things, and this is really exciting, to uncover, is that 51% of the women have been in the industry less than 10 years. It's not not sort of surprising, I think, to anybody when you look at the numbers of 21 to 25 years, women, being the lowest numbers. But what you can see with this slide is that consistently women are finding and, falling into it, being referred, however they're getting to reach us, they are finding it increasingly year after year, decade after decade. And so it's, that's really exciting. And again, tying that back to the last slide that we just left, they're finding it throughout the variety of ages. So, I think that's really cool. Again, 60% are in management. Staff is obviously one of the, largest ones. But it's just so awesome to see that 30 women identify as CEOs and presidents of their companies. I don't know, and I don't know if there anybody in IT necessarily or some of the other science STEM industries have actually looked at seniority of women, but 30 women. I mean that's amazing. Executive management, 84 women are in executive management. It ties to like the leadership. And, so it's not surprising to me that women want leadership, but it's also really cool to see that we have 2 interns and some freelance people. Is there anything you want to add, Carrie?
Nothing right now, just other than that I actually fall into 3 of these categories, which is staff, freelance, and intern at the same time. So I wonder if there are other people who are like that too. Again, since I'm new, ish. Yeah, I am. I want to still know more about just everyone out there, and it's really interesting. Just again because I think it's our next slide, or I don't know if we passed it already, but no, it's not that one. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Again, that most people are in sales and very few technicians, but again, I want to have that discussion later. I think it's just really interesting.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So, when we asked, this is a slide question that we asked, check all that applies. So, it's not necessarily it's not the exact questions. So most of them, a majority of them, you had one answer that you could only give, but this one, we really wanted to sort of see where women relate in the industry, the things that they use, and sort of what do they do at a level of the technology. And I don't think unsurprisingly that women identified Pro AV, audio, video, and control systems. I mean, that's the majority of what our industry is. I think it's awesome that 156 women identify in live events, 103 chose lights. So it's, to me, those aren't necessarily, coming from an engineering side. The live events and lights is not a part of our industry that I've necessarily known too much about. So I think that that's exciting. The consumer electronics and the CE Pro, I know women in CT, that's an organization. If anybody wants to reach out to another sister organization and participate, amazing women, incredibly successful women, and they're all in, all about consumer electronics and CE Pro. So whether or not there are actually more women participating in that side of our industry, and we just didn't reach them, or women are more in the professional side, and that's who we reached. It's really interesting. So go ahead, Kara. This is your slide.
Yeah, so 58% hold non-technical positions, and I mentioned earlier how the top 3 growth opportunities, people mentioned technical training, and it's just the fact that 58% don't hold a technical position, but they would want to learn it. I think that's really cool. And yeah, we're going to talk about more of this later on in the discussion. And yeah.
I was really excited to see that we do have engineering and technicians. I think that that's one of the anomalies that has always been a question. It's not a question that we don't have as many female technicians, and sales and PR and marketing. I don't know that that's necessarily as well a surprise that those would be the roles that like a lot of women in our industry hold, and the project management, being that those are skills about relationships, about creativity, about communication, all areas that tend to favor women. But I was really excited to see that, yes, we do have engineers and technicians. So, I mean, that was something that was, was really good. I wasn't sure that we would get that many. So that was cool. And so, one of the questions also is that, whether or not women need a second job. So the good news, it looks like, the industry is a place where women can actually, make a fair salary. We can't obviously speak to whether or not, the pay gap, whether or not they make equal salary as their male counterparts. But what we can say is that on an overall basis, women are being, paid enough that they don't have to have a two job. On the other hand, Carrie, go ahead and tell them about what's interesting about the 86 people that do have to have a second job.
So, the 86 people who do have to have a second job are actually mostly technicians. And we did some cross-referencing for those. And it was just really interesting because, again, as someone who lives that life, it's true. Like I've mentioned before, I'm staff, I'm an intern, and freelance. And that's not because I want to, it's both. I want to be and I need to be. So, yeah.
Right. And, to that point, Carrie, like, a lot of our industry talks about why don't we have more female technicians? Well, clearly we're not paying them, or clearly maybe the salary isn't, good enough that, people have to have, Carrie has to have 3 different areas that she's focusing on. So maybe they might be passionate about it, but, if they have to pay the bills, it might not be an opportunity for them to sort of reach out and, follow that passion of, getting into the technical side of things. But yes, technicians, I thought that was really interesting. And, as, again, what Maddie can say and attest to is that being a female technician, is probably one of the hottest jobs in our industry. And, not only just from maybe some of the areas where you have some of that casual sexism of, can you lift this? Can you do this? But also, the job itself is really much more demanding in terms of actually having to do, hardware and installs and lift things, and have that customer service. So great. Women are 50-50 split on whether or not they use social media. I think that this is really incredible because I think women have come a long way. It doesn't surprise me that the most of women use it on a daily basis professionally, but it also is quite interesting. And we didn't do a cross-reference to see maybe what is the age of women who rarely use it or never use it. But, when you add those categories together of rarely and never, it pretty much is either you use it or you don't use it on a professional basis. So that's just an interesting one.
I think it also depends on the platform that you're using, because I know on Twitter, I noticed a lot more older people on it rather than younger people. And on Facebook groups are really populated with a lot of younger people, surprisingly. From what I've seen.
Right. Yeah, and you're right, because out on LinkedIn is pretty much kind of the opposite. So I'm noticing that right now it's 20 minutes to 11, and I want to, we've got a long way to go within our presentation. So, if you guys can bear with us, I'm going to kind of just get us to a place where we can have probably maybe 5 more minutes of this discussion, and then I really want to open it up. So again, 67% fell into it as a career. The interesting part, and I'm not surprised, family people, especially in the CE Pro side of it. It's a lot of small businesses. There's a lot of women that participate in it because their husbands have companies. They've started companies with their husbands, or their parents have companies and things like that. It's really nice to see that education as well as is something that people actually have. 50% of females, this is an important one, 50% of females feel the AV could be better. Now, this is a sliding scale. So question, which is, it allowed women the opportunity to be able to identify what they feel most for them. Now, we all know that like the word could be better is something that, could be better. And could the industry be better for women? Of course it is. But one of the most important things that I feel that came out of this that really excited me and made me feel good is that if our industry was something that was hostile, that was toxic, and really unwelcoming, those would have been the ones that were chosen. And only 2% actually chose that they felt and their perception of the industry was unwelcome, undervalued. That's a good one that we need to sort of like definitely look into. But I was also really pleased to see that, women take a pretty neutral feeling about, how the industry actually receives them. It's not on either side because, they don't feel the extremes on either side. Because as much as only 2% say that they feel unwelcome, you can see the only one that's less than that at 1% is that they feel it's a priority. So, we're just kind of in the middle, which is not the best place to be, but I'm really excited that we can say that our industry is welcoming. And, while we have areas to go, we might not experience some of the other significantly toxic environments across the board as other tech industries. This one, nope, we talked about this, males are important and critical to, women's careers. But again, what we see is that 44% of women don't have a mentor. One of the things that I found so interesting, and you can read about it in the key recommendations, is I really feel that there's a missed opportunity that we have here between women in our industry, because we have this sort of 50-50 split between women that are supervisors and management level versus staff. So it's not to say that we don't have the numbers of executive women or veteran women that are able to actually teach staff women, or the numbers that are there. So there's a sort of a disconnect that we have there, because only 50 women said that females are who their mentors are. Leadership, career, training, we've talked a lot about those being the top 3. One of the things that I found, which is, again, I love that women want leadership. That is the coolest thing, especially because we are such leaders in our industry. One of the things that, stood out for me about this in terms of, what type of, and you were able to choose which ones that you wanted. One of the things that stood out for me about this kind of surprised me was to see the ones women lead, equality, diversity, and industry news. So, you can get from a perspective of how it shakes out. What women want are things about individual advancement. They want to learn for themselves, but areas of sort of the broad scope of women's equality and diversity aren't necessarily things that interest them. But to me, it was something.
All right. So Jennifer is gone. But what she was saying, leadership, career advancement, and technical training, those were the ones that were really cool, because not only will that help other people, but not only will that help other people, but it will hopefully in the future we could pass that down to the generation that is coming in. So next, let me see. I could see if I could share my screen. So give me a second, and I will do that for the next slides. And hold on. Technical difficulties, but it happens because we're humans and humans create technology.
Anything can happen during a live show.
Yes. Trust me, I've had a lot of that happen to me during live shows. But you know what? It got through. No one died. So, sorry, guys. Let's see. anyone has anything to say right now, maybe
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I don't know, my meeting got disconnected to technical difficulty. I'm on the phone, but that's telling me that that we should stop and kind of open it up the questions and the discussion to everybody.
Yes, I was just doing that right now. I could share my screen if I can. Hold on.
So Mitch, while Carrie's getting the presentation and to get to the question section, can you, I mean, is everybody's mic, can you help us sort of like facilitate this, you know, how we kind of move forward that we can get everybody involved? Can we put everybody in a, you know, the Hollywood Square so that we can sort of see everybody that's on it?
I believe, yeah, and I think we can have, like for example, Meg is raising her hand, so I can unmute her.
Cool.
Possibly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So question for the group is, will there be a follow-up study that kind of compares this number of, you know, women to maybe the overall AV industry as a total? I think amongst several of my coworkers that have been awesome enough to join this broadcast, one of the things that would be interesting to me is to get an understanding of how we women are also, you know, lining up against everybody else in the industry, particularly in the area of we fell into AV. It's really an interesting topic. Like, what does falling into AV mean? What, you know, how did you fall into AV? Like, was the, was there a path that you were on that just led into AV? So that's my question.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I don't necessarily think that like from my perspective, I don't necessarily have a definitive answer for you about what that sort of next step is, but it was definitely was my hope is that, and was by doing this, it was going to spark so much more. And, you know, that it was just really the first step. So I really love that. I love that. And I would definitely look into that. You know, and if you have any ideas or you want to get involved in doing it, you know, definitely, you know, reach out for anybody that wants to get involved or, you know, wants to, you know, learn more. One of the slides that we have that I know you probably can't see is like the WAVE Society that we can join, but I can send an email out, yeah, with that. So if you write down this, you know, information here, the login. So I've created an online women's professional resource center, and this is a place where we can all go. And, you know, that's actually a place where we can start to have more discussions and things like that. Carrie also has her huddle space. So Carrie, you can talk about that.
Yeah, so my little huddle space is a place to where people could talk about topics. So right now it's the topics I have posted on my website are about COVID-19, of course, self-care and women and girls in AV, and they can all talk about subjects like that. They could talk about resources that they have for each other, just experience, encouragement, even building friendships, and because I know that's very important, as at least for me, because I know that I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am without reaching out, without building relationships, but meaningful ones, and rather than just give me a contact or something like that. It's just about building those really solid relationships and just making sure that people have the resources and tools that they need to flourish. So
Great.
that's an opportunity. Yeah.
Perfect. So like who else wants to start a discussion?
Yeah.
Community.
You could just hit in Zoom, raise your hand. I think it's in the participant section, and then I'll give you the floor.
Anyone?
Yeah. Okay, well, let's ask a question. Like, so let's put this question out there. You know, like, was the survey relatable? You know, I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to read the report. But, you know, like, what stood out for anybody? You know, what is it that, you know, that surprised you, that, let us know what you think about it. We're really interested.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's Maddie. Yeah, one of the things I found interesting is obviously, the point about females wanting training on leadership and, career advancement and everything. And I'm wondering why that is. Is it, an issue that the women aren't given the opportunity for the training? Is it that, they're not doing technical jobs, so they're not being offered the training? Or, do they not feel comfortable doing the training because there's less women doing it? It's more males. That was just one of the interesting things I found in the survey.
Yeah, especially as a female technician, that's not surprising. But I mean, those are all like really good points. And again, this is sort of like the jumping off point. I mean, we definitely can follow up on that. Does anybody have any ideas? Like, did anybody like that participate in the survey? Did anybody like choose technical training? And can somebody let us know, like for somebody like, Maddie and myself that are on, like, that are engineers in the WAVE, leadership, like, what is it that stands out for you about wanting technical training, and what are some of those limitations?
Yeah, I would like to hear this one.
We've had a couple of limitations. One,
Yeah.
not every company is willing to invest in people. So there's a lot of companies out there that won't spend any money on training for anyone. It doesn't matter what their gender is. So that is one aspect. In fact, there's the old story of the CEO or the CTO that says, I want to invest in technical training for my people. And of course, the CFO raises their hand and says, what if we invest in the people and they leave? And the CTO responds, what if we don't invest in them and they stay? So that is an ongoing battle in every company, regardless of gender. But when it comes to gender specifics, I have had clients that don't take women seriously. And this is recent even. 2007, working for GBH at Lockheed Martin's corporate offices at Moffett Field. I was sent to program and commission a system for GBH, and I brought in my tools, my laptop, and the client asked, where's the programmer? And I said, I am the programmer. His answer, and I'm not kidding, I'm quoting word for word, was, no, really, where's the programmer?
Oh my goodness.
That's just one of countless examples of companies not perceiving us as able to perform technical work.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm really glad that you shared that. Especially like, that's such a good point about the CTO versus the CFO, and regardless of gender. And then the idea of the gender specific. I mean, I'm definitely sorry that you experienced that. But that really is so telling. It's hard, I think, to understand like how we change that perception, because it's so fundamental to us getting more opportunities. Perfect.
What kind of technical training would you want if you were to get it? And that could be to anyone. If anyone wants to share. I mean, it's okay. You don't have to. But it'd be very interesting to know.
So what does anybody think is our next steps? What would you like to see next?
Yeah.
I mean, really appreciate, Meg, like, about like the follow-up sort of, things like that. But, what can we do about improving gender equality, and what would you specifically like to see next from our industry?
Yes. Ronnie. It's your name, right? I like that name.
I think I'm unmuted. As a follow-up, I think I would love to see some engagement from male counterparts as well, and to see to see a little bit more of like, to touch on what Carrie was saying earlier, that these friendships, right? These aren't just, I need a contact, but how we as the AV community comes together. Like Tim Albright's a great example of how he is supportive of everyone. And how we inevitably can bring that together collectively. You know, I think being able to identify and bridge the gaps between gender inequality is really amazing. And I think that it's going to be important for men, women, non-binary, anyone, to really figure out how do we do this together. And, you know, being that this is one of the first studies on women specifically in this industry, I would love to see that kind of presence of, you know, not just women taking a survey, but seeing like, you know, what would men have answered to some of these exact questions, right? And that comparative analysis.
I love that. That's fantastic. Yeah, you know what I can honestly say from, you know, from, I love everything about that. From my perspective, you know, having, you know, founded WAVE 9 years ago, one of the things, you know, that I genuinely feel about men, and I think, I don't know if we have Kevin, if Kevin may be on the call, Kevin Laughlin is also the WAVE UK leadership. He's our first, you know, male leadership in an official position. He's also just phenomenal, generally speaking, about when it comes to our industry and helping and supporting. He's another Tim Albright on the other side of the pond. I really have felt when we started that men don't necessarily feel that they have a place in this conversation when it comes to women. So I feel that they actually have held back because they don't know necessarily if they're welcomed, you know, what they have to add of the value. But, you know, it's obvious. And, you know, to your point, I mean, having men, you know, participate with us and, you know, really bring things to the table that we can't is so important. And I also feel like over these last 9 years, starting to see men actually truly feel like they have something to add to that is, you know, we've come so far. And I think, like you said, Meg, like that next step is really to have something where we can, you know, focus on like issues, but not come at it necessarily as, you know, a woman's group, you know, or, you know, something like a technician's group. That's great.
Yeah.
Who else?
See people on here.
Hello, Maddie here. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
it'd be quite interesting to look into the mentorship as well, because I know we mentioned it, but interesting because, you know, say about how females have more male mentorship. Is that a choice because they want males, because, you know, they're the people they see doing, you know, the more managerial positions, or is it, you know, just the lack of females, or, you know, about the mentorship and lack of access to it, or, you know, that sort of thing?
I love that. Kevin, are you actually here on the call? I don't want to put you on the spot. I just can't see.
I don't think he is. He's not on the
Oh,
participant list.
Actually, I think I saw a gentleman by the name of Patrick. Is Patrick still on the call?
I also don't believe so.
No.
All right. Let's put it back.
I do like what Maddie said about like the mentoring and the like where the women and the girls and stuff. It's just really interesting just because a lot of the people said, you know, they were mentored or taught by guys, or they don't have a mentor. Very few said that they actually have women mentors or both. And I think we need to give more credit to for the guys too, because they're the ones teaching us and helping us. And if we're the ones being taught, maybe we could pass this on to the generations behind us, and hopefully those numbers will grow as to women mentors and you know, teachers. So it's a starting point.
I love it. Yeah, and I love it. I love what both of you said that. I mean, I think that's really exciting. And what we can truly see, obviously, now is that the women are there. There is at least a good significant split between the women that are in staff that have a veteran opportunity. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Oh, cool. I'm glad. Thanks everybody for joining. Anybody that has to jump off or get onto another call, thanks so much for joining. Carrie, can you go to the next slide?
Yes.
Thanks, Alexis. So glad you were able to join us. Yeah, so we'll just that's great. All I can see, what I can see is just these little pop-ups that are on the screen. So I'm still a little bit down on the technical side. That's cool. Awesome.
So this
is
this is the next slide.
Yeah, I can see that down a little bit. Yeah, so this is how you can reach both of us. One of the things that I really loved, and it was so valuable when we talk about the mentoring, and this is another key recommendation that we made, the opportunity for Carrie and I to work together on this project alone has, felt like a very big mentoring opportunity. I've learned so much. I hope to think that she's learned, so much as well. So really, as one of the, the key recommendations that we would have is, finding opportunities for mentoring with other people that isn't necessarily a formal program. Our WAVE UK leadership, with Sadie Groom and Bubble Agency, she does the RISE program for broadcasting. Abby Brown did, a mentoring scheme before she passed, and Sadie's. It was her initiative and her idea. So that's an amazing formal program. But again, it's only for necessarily women in London. So what do we do? So, how do we take that to the next level? And doing something like what Carrie and I did, there's always that opportunity to be a mentor.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think we've wrapped up on an hour. So, we really want to thank everybody for joining. If you can go to the next slide, Carrie, that'd be great. But, we want to thank everybody for joining us. It's, again, this is just the start of a conversation. And, we're really looking forward to what the next steps are, what the insights come from this and the discussion. So please, anything that you think, that you feel about it, that you want to share, reach out to us, let us know. We're always, around. So, really exciting. What would you like to close with, Carrie?
Just thank you for everyone who joined in and participating and sharing and the whole process, being part of it. Thanks for, just participating. And whether it was this or the survey or both, I just really thank you guys for that, because this is a great experience. So. Yeah,
we learned a lot. Perfect. Okay, everyone, thank you. We're gonna sign off, and everybody that listened to the stream, again, check us out. Check out AVNation, AVNation.tv. Check out Carrie at thecarriemartinez.com. I mean, she's got a lot of phenomenal, really exciting, fresh ideas for, especially if you're a younger person in the industry. Join her huddle. Check us out on Women in AV, www.womeninav.com. Connect with us, connect with Maddie Vining, connect with Kevin McLaughlin, and, join the WAVE Society. It's womeninav.groupsite, and site is SITE, so GROUPSITE.com/join. womeninav.groupsite.com/join. We can continue these conversations forwards and join Carrie's huddle, which is thecarriemartinez.com/huddles, which was a really great idea that she had about, bringing people together to discuss not only women in tech things, but anything that really matters to people. And you don't have to be young to join it.
Yeah.
I joined. I was the first one. Perfect. Awesome, everybody. Thank you so much. Please stay safe. And everything hopefully is going to get back to better days soon. And, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. So thanks.